Danger Dolan. Strats for all Throne of Thunder encounters, whether you're tank, heal, or DPS. Refer to the links below this video for the guide that caters to your role. Mechanics. Here's how the fight works. You got two bosses, and for the most part you'll be fighting them one at a time. You have the Darkness Phase and the Daylight Phase, just like Sulong in Terrors of the Endless Springs, as well as an extra mini Dusk Phase. Initially, when you pull the boss, the fight will start out in the Darkness Phase, and then after a few minutes, transition to Daylight. When you're fighting one boss in a certain phase, the other might pop in every so often and throw some garbage at you, but it's only temporary, so you don't need to switch targets or anything like that. During the entire fight, you'll see 4 statues in all corners of the room. When you click a statue, it transports you to a spirit world, and a chat bubble will pop up indicating to trace a certain shape using your character as a pen. I could explain this extensively, but instead, I'll just use in-game footage to convey my point. Each statue helps you in a certain way. The Ox gives you more HP for 30 seconds. The Crane inflicts 30 million damage to the boss and should only be used during the Dusk Phase for maximum damage. The Dragon gives you more health and more mana regen. The Tiger slows everything down, meaning you can avoid mechanics you couldn't previously. Feel free to use the statues anytime you need them. It'll really depend on your group makeup and what you're having trouble with. Now, in the Darkness Phase, some flowers might appear on the ground and they shoot green cloud balls all over the place. Just don't touch the balls or you will be put to sleep. Some stars might appear in the air and after a few seconds crash down on some of your players. Essentially, all it means is that nobody should be within 10 yards of each other. The tank might get fixated by a blue ad, in which case they need to burn it down because only the person it's fixated on can attack it. If you are attacking the boss when it fixated on you, call out for your other tank to taunt her off you while you burn the ad. As I mentioned earlier, the Daylight boss might show up in this phase for a moment. All she does is raid damage, and as long as you spread out above 10 yards, which goes without saying, there's nothing else to it. For the Daylight Phase, get out of the fire. That's right, fire's bad. And stay spread out. 10 yards should be perfect. This means you avoid this fire circle attack and something called an ice comet that the Darkness boss throws at you every so often. Tanks, when you get the Fan of Flames debuff, do a taunt swap or you'll take considerably more damage from attacks. The boss will gain a stacking buff throughout this phase that increases her fire damage by 2% per tick. To reduce the number of buffs, she needs to be dragged near an ice comet. The closer to the comet she is, the faster she loses stacks, but the faster the ice comet will melt. If you keep her near the comet for too long, then the comet will vanish and that may be a bad thing. The comets will also have this rotating black shadow it leaves on the ground that reduces your fire damage taken by 80%. If you're losing health super fast, I recommend standing in the shadow. But bear in mind that because it rotates around the comet, you'll need to be quick on your feet. For the final Dusk Phase, you'll fight both bosses at once. They need to be separated above 10-15 yards away from each other or they'll heal. You'll be contending with the mechanics from both phases here, with an extra one called Tidal Force, in which the Dark boss will send waves in all directions you need to avoid, and while she's channeling, she pretty much takes no damage, so have all your DPS switch to the other boss and burn, though because in this phase you'll be burning the light boss anyway, this shouldn't be an issue. And I mean, unless you're going for the achievement, the day boss will be the one all DPS should be burning down anyway, so once the day boss dies, it'll be the night phase all over again. You'll have to burn the night boss and it's smooth sailing from there. Let's recap. Darkness Phase, you move from the green clouds and the flowers, you spread 10 yards, you kill an ad if you are fixated. Daylight Phase, you get out of the fire, you spread 10 yards again. You drag the boss to a comet to reduce her buffs, though bearing in mind that it will deplete the comet, and if the comet's gone then you can't reduce stacks. You taunt swap for the debuff. Dusk Phase, you contend with all the mechanics from every phase, as well as Tidal Force, which you avoid, and Suen must be the one who dies, that is the light boss. That's it. Click the annotation you see on screen for the other boss guide playlist. If you click that nice looking subscribe button at the top left, then all future guides will come right to you. Like on Facebook for heads up on all my upcoming projects, leave comments about alternative strats, like if you liked the video, dislike it if you disliked it, that is what it is there for, go for it.